September 11th, 2001. It was a beautiful summer day in New York City, the day that Muslim terrorists brought their holy jihad to American soil. They hijacked 5 of our planes, crashed them into the Pentagon, the Twin Towers, a field in Pennsylvania, and one that never hit its target. That target location is still unknown to this day. On September 11th, 2001, the rules changed. The United States of America was founded on a system of checks and balances. This system is meant to ensure that undue punishment is not inflicted to any person and that the people of the United States will retain their civil rights. Torture, if added to the law through this system, will not take away from these rights. Torture should be used when decisive evidence is present indicating that taking these extreme and immediate measures against a criminal will prevent the imminent loss of innocent lives. In 1984, the UN Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhuman, and Degrading Treatment or Punishment clearly defined torture as, quote, any act by which severe pain or suffering, whether physical or mental, is intentionally inflicted on a person for such purposes as obtaining from him or a third person information or a confession. This key point in the UN's definition and other areas it goes on to define are consistent and supportive of the 5th, 8th, and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States. Along with the U.S. Constitution, recent changes have been made crystallizing specific actions that could be considered torture. These prohibited acts include forcing the detainee to be naked, perform sexual acts, or pose in a sexual manner, placing hoods or sacks over the head of a detainee, using duct tape over their eyes, both are also now prohibited. Applying beatings, electric shock, burns, or other forms of physical pain are also not allowed. Waterboarding, illegal. Using military working dogs or inducing hypothermia or heat injury, conducting mock executions, or depriving the detainee of necessary food, water, or medical care are now all prohibited acts. Although the currently enacted laws prohibit such practices, warrants for torture in the form of enhanced interrogation techniques could be legally granted by U.S. federal circuit courts with original jurisdiction in all matters regarding terrorism. Federal judges authorized to issue warrants for torture could be appointed by the President of the United States with the advice and consent of the U.S. Senate. However, for any torture warrant to be granted, strict legal parameters should first be met. Initially, there should be sound reason to act. Discrimination. Torture only the direct conspirators. Necessity. No other method but torture will achieve the protection of innocence. Proportionality. Only torture those with appropriate standing. Prospect of success. Only torture when the prospect of success, like preventing catastrophe with the information to be extracted, is great. We will now cover several scenarios that fall under the definition of sound reason. In cases of extreme scenarios, such as hostage situations and despicable inhumane acts, enhanced interrogation techniques can and must be used. There is a morally valid position in these cases which advocates the use of torture for the purpose of saving innocent lives. Innocent lives are of higher value in society than the life of a terrorist or murderer. Therefore, it is immoral to allow their acts to be completed without every measure at the government's disposal being exercised to prevent innocent deaths. Traditional tactics are just not sufficient in extreme situations. There is a strong case for torture in what is called the ticking time bomb scenario. In the case that a country does not normally support torture, here they can morally and rationally justify it if they have clear and concise knowledge that the person in question has information of an imminent threat or that a weapon of mass destruction is going to be used to harm innocent people. You can see the devastation of a car bomb attack on a crowded market in Pakistan in October 2009, which resulted in the deaths of 93 innocent bystanders and seriously injured hundreds of men, women, and children. If extreme interrogation techniques could have been used on an accomplice to proactively identify the bomber in this attack, innocent lives could have been spared. Say a woman with her infant baby is carjacked in a parking lot on an extremely hot day. The carjacker throws the lady to the curb and drives off in her car with the innocent baby still sleeping in its car seat. After ditching the car, a witness identifies the thief and the police arrest him and bring him into custody. The thief refuses to cooperate and reveal the location of the car. Estimations give the baby 1 hour to live in the extreme heat. Unless they get the information on where the thief ditched the car, the baby dies. Without enhanced interrogation techniques, this child will most definitely die. Is the life of an innocent child not worth the price of using extreme measures to extract the whereabouts of the car from this common thief? If a policeman or soldier has the legal right to injure or even kill a criminal when protecting an innocent person during the act of a crime, there is no moral differentiation for that same policeman or soldier to proactively use extreme force in protection of life scenarios. Approximately 11,800 terrorist attacks against non-combatants occurred in various countries during 2008, resulting in over 16,000 deaths as well as countless injuries. It is our assertion that hundreds and possibly thousands of these deaths could have been prevented had enhanced interrogation techniques been used with suspects in order to provide actionable intelligence aimed at prevention. According to a February 2009 survey conducted by the Pew Charitable Trust, a nonprofit religious charitable organization, approximately 71% of Americans polled found justification for torture under certain circumstances. Dr. Albert Mahler, president of the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, is quoted as saying, quote, "Under certain circumstances, most morally sensitive persons would surely allow interrogators to yell at prisoners and to use psychological intimidation, sleep deprivation, and the removal of creature comforts for obtaining vital information." He goes on to say, "In increasingly serious cases, most would likely allow some use of pharmaceuticals and more intensive and manipulative psychological techniques. In the most extreme of conceivable cases, most would also allow the use of far more serious mechanisms of coercion, even what we would all agree should be labeled as torture." End quote. An unlikely pro-torture supporter is Arizona State Senator John McCain. McCain was also a Vietnam prisoner of war who was himself repeatedly tortured daily by the Viet Cong over the course of years. John McCain recognizes there could be rare instances when a president disobeys the law and orders a suspect tortured. Say, if Al-Qaida had hidden a nuclear bomb in New York and a suspect involved in the plot had been captured. McCain was quoted in Newsweek as saying, quote, "You do what you have to do, but you take responsibility for it. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus in the Civil War, and FDR violated the Neutrality Act before World War II." End quote. Now, John McCain is a man who knows what torture is like, has been a torture victim, and yet he still sees the importance and effectiveness in this process. In summary, enhanced interrogation torture techniques are morally justified where there is a sound reason to act, and is an absolute necessity in certain circumstances, such as extreme scenarios, ticking time bomb scenarios, protection of life scenarios. Statistics show that tens of thousands of innocent people are killed each year in terrorist incidents, and many of these lives could be saved by using enhanced interrogation tactics. Finally, surveys show that most Americans support torture under certain circumstances. Americans have all known the feeling of devastation when a terrorist attack is close to someone they love. 9/11 made terrorism a reality for those who had not experienced it. As a country, we cannot let those lives, the lives of the soldiers who have given their lives since, and the lives of the innocent victims across the world go in vain. We must learn from our mistakes. When there are warning signs, and when we have clear and convincing evidence that can prevent a tragedy of this magnitude or save the life of one child, we need to take action. We cannot leave the power in the hands of the people that are terrorizing others. America will keep our checks and balances, but incorporate torture when necessary to save innocent American lives.